Hello everyone, this is Blaine, and today I'm here to discuss about global HR strategies, and we will see comparative analysis of IHRM practices across different continents as well. First thing first, what is the core objective of HRM? Yes, it is to recruit, develop, and retain a talented workforce, which will be beneficial for an organizational growth and also individual growth as well. So human resource management, it starts domestically and it goes beyond that, and that is where the IHRM or International Human Resource Management evolves from. They do ensure legal and ethical standards as well. They make sure it is maintained. The first continent that we'll be looking at is America. Well, the organizational behavior is their work culture values individualism and meritocracy and performance-based rewards. What do we mean by meritocracy? It is like a system where people are judged by their performance, ability, and their achievements and efforts as well. And their hierarchy are relatively flat, which is there is fewer level of management between the top management and the bottom of the company, and decision making is mostly decentralized. So we can see the startup companies as an example. What are the cultural factors? As we said, there is a high self-reliance level. There is a diverse workforce, so managing that is also one thing. And there are different rules, which are, for example, FLSA and OSHA. FLSA, for instance, this is like a Fair Labor Standard Act, which sets a minimum wage for the employees, starting from like $7.25 per hour, and it does also focuses on the overtime pay as well. All right, so when we come to the legal and economic factors, there are a lot of startup companies coming up, and the technology is there. And there's also immigration-related constraints. For example, the HB1 visas, where the work visa will be given to a specific specialized workers, for instance, like IT workers, healthcare workers, engineers, and it will be extended in every 3 years. So the process is there as a legal process. So the major best practice that we can mention here is the data-driven recruitment. They do use AI and analytics as well. And there's like a cross-cultural training that is given to increase the D&I initiatives. This is the diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they do use HRIS, which is HR information system, where they can put their compliance and management on the system as well, which is a very good practice. As for the challenge, as we said, there is immigration and the work permit processing time is very long. There will be a delay. And since the federal and state laws kind of vary at some point, that's also a challenge as well. The second continent is Eurasia, and from here we'll see Germany and Russia as an example. So, for instance, as an organizational behavior in Germany, the decision-making process is something that balances participation and collaboration. So there is an increased rate of participation and an increased rate of collaboration as well. But as for Russia, there is like a top-down decision-making process, which is definitely efficient when it comes to time saving, but the participation will be less. All right. Yes, so the legal and economic factors are they do have a strong labor protection rules, mostly we know in EU. And when it comes to Russia, they are influenced by states, and sometimes there is like a sanction involving as well. Best practices, there is trainings that will be given for their employees, and there's a localized leadership development for their employees as well. The use of the HRIS system and digital upskilling is very high. And as a challenge, we can mention the balancing between centralized and decentralized HR models is a challenge for them because they need to balance both. And the other thing is the workforce is aging, so that's why they're actually recruiting from elsewhere too. The third continent we'll be looking at is Africa, and we're going to take South Africa and Ethiopia as an example. As for organizational behavior, there is high collectivism, and the power is, concentrated in a certain place or a certain, I would say, tribe. Yeah. So hierarchy are mostly paternalistic, and decision makings are often centralized. As for the culture, there is a respect for elite people, and loyalty to a certain tribe and clan is very common there as well. For the challenge, there is a high unemployment and skill mismatch in the continent, and the HR infrastructure is also very low compared to the other sides of the world. And brain drain rate is very high because most of the educated people are migrating to the other parts of the world. One of the good practice that we can mention here is the CSR-driven talent development. We can see MTN's leadership program in South Africa, for example, because they incorporate the corporate social responsibility into the local communities. And there is a workforce development that is given through local training initiatives as well. And partnerships with government for job creation is there too. And for this, we can take the element communication, which is in Ethiopia. Legal and economic factors, let's say there are laws that vary. For instance, in South Africa, there is the triple BEE, which is broad-based Black economy empowerment, which is to increase the number of Black employees in the country. And the high unemployment and skill mismatch is something we can mention as a challenge here. So the last one is Oceania. Australia and New Zealand will be our focus. And the organizational behavior here is high individualism and egalitarian culture. In a sense, equal rights and responsibilities are given for the employees, and there is a performance and work-life balance, and they do give a strong emphasis on employee well-being as well. So they have like a strong gender equality and diverse workforce inclusion, which is a very good culture here. And as for the legal and economic factors, we can mention the equal gender pay, which is enforced by WGEA in Australia. It is a workplace gender equality agency, which is in Australia, and they do focus on the gender equal pay. Best practices, as I mentioned, there is a work-life balance, so work-family reconciliation incentive to improve this is there. There is diversity targeted recruitment for women, minorities, and those with families too. The HR platforms that they're using is digital, which is good. But as for the challenge, they're facing a challenge in terms of remote location recruitment and skill shortage in the rural area mainly. So the comparative analysis is summarized in a table form that we have discussed earlier. The major dimensions are the organizational style, cultural factors, legal and economic factors, and the best practices that is practiced in the four different continents. The other dimensions that I look at is the leadership style, cultural dimensions, recruitment and selection, training and development, performance management, compensation and benefits. All of this we can find it here, and it is somehow related in a way and different in a way. So we can find all the details here on this table. Let's summarize this. Practice must be localized, and leadership style does vary from country to country. Technology is a driving factor these days, and cross-cultural fluency needs to be there as well. So what will be the future trends? Hybrid work model, definitely, because these days people are working from home, working from office, right? These things are there. Global talent mobility is there, and sustainability and CSR integrations will be more focused on in the future. And definitely, AI and automation in HR will be the major focus and the future as well. These are some of the references that I used. You can take a look at it for more information. This brings us to the end of our session. Thank you so much for your time.